Sir, stop tampering with that mailbox.
What? I'm delivering the mail. I work for the city.
We got a call about a suspicious person stealing mail. You match the description.
I literally have the post in my hand. I can show you my ID.
Don't reach for anything.
How am I supposed to show you who I am?
You're being uncooperative. I might need that.
Officer Derek Sullivan had been with the Chicago Police Department for 14 years. In those 14 years, he'd accumulated 19 formal complaints. 16 of them involved black men he'd detained while they were working. A black electrician fixing a streetlight was questioned for tampering with city property. A black landscaper mowing a lawn was detained for trespassing. A black construction worker on a job site was searched for suspicious activity. Every complaint ended the same way: retraining, written counseling, no real discipline, no meaningful consequences. One Tuesday afternoon in Chicago, his 14-year pattern of assuming black men working in affluent neighborhoods were criminals finally confronted someone who wasn't just doing his job. He was a city employee with union representation, federal employment protections, and colleagues who would fight for him. That confrontation would end Sullivan's career, cost the city $4.9 million, and expose a department that had ignored 19 complaints over 14 years. Jerome Hayes, a 45-year-old postal carrier with the United States Postal Service, was delivering mail on his assigned route in Lincoln Park, one of Chicago's wealthiest neighborhoods. His postal badge was in his pocket, his identification in his wallet, his route assignment in his delivery truck. No crime, no federal violation, no suspicious behavior, just a postal worker doing his job. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Hit that subscribe button. These stories expose the truth. Chicago, Illinois, Lincoln Park, an affluent North Side neighborhood known for tree-lined streets, historic brownstones, and luxury condominiums. It was 2:15 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, temperature 71 dominando, sunny skies. Jerome Hayes had been a postal carrier for 18 years with the United States Postal Service. He'd started as a mail processing clerk, worked his way up to carrier, and had been delivering on Chicago's North Side for the past decade. He'd walked thousands of miles, delivered millions of pieces of mail, worked through blizzards and heat waves. He'd received commendations for perfect attendance, excellence in customer service, and dedication to his route. He was a federal employee protected by union contracts and federal employment laws. That afternoon, Jerome was covering part of a colleague's route during his lunch break. His regular route was 2 blocks over, but his colleague had called in sick, and the supervisor asked Jerome to deliver a section of her route before it got too late. Jerome had changed out of his postal uniform into casual clothes for his lunch break and hadn't changed back yet. His uniform shirt was in the truck. He was wearing jeans and a plain blue t-shirt, but his postal badge was clipped to his belt and his ID was in his wallet. Do you think officers should verify employment before arresting workers? Drop your answer below. Officer Sullivan had those 19 complaints, over 14 years. 16 involved black men working in wealthy neighborhoods, a pattern so clear it should have ended his career years earlier. That afternoon, Sullivan was patrolling Lincoln Park when he received a call about suspicious activity, someone going through mailboxes on a residential street. Sullivan arrived within minutes and saw exactly what the caller described, a black man in civilian clothes reaching into mailboxes. "Sir, stop what you're doing and show me your ID." Jerome turned, confused, mail still in his hand. "I'm working. I'm delivering mail." "You're going through mailboxes. That's a federal crime." Jerome's confusion turned to frustration. "I'm a postal worker. This is my route. Well, it's my colleague's route, but I'm covering for her." "I don't see a uniform. Step away from those mailboxes now." Jerome gestured toward his truck parked at the curb, clearly marked with USPS logos. "My uniform is in the truck. I'm on my lunch break covering for a colleague. My badge is right here on my belt. My ID is in my wallet. I'm a federal employee doing my job." "Sure you are. Put your hands where I can see them." Jerome felt his heart rate increase. "Officer, I've been a postal carrier for 18 years. My name is Jerome Hayes. My employee number is in my wallet. You can call the post office and verify everything." Sullivan stepped closer, hand near his weapon. "I said hands where I can see them. You're tampering with federal property." "I am federal property. I work for the Postal Service." A woman walking her dog stopped on the sidewalk. "Officer, I know him. He delivers our mail all the time. He's a postal worker." Sullivan ignored her. "Sir, final warning. Put the mail down and put your hands behind your back. Jerome carefully set down the mail he was holding and raised his hands. Officer Sullivan, you are making a serious mistake. I'm a United States Postal Service employee. I'm protected by federal employment laws. I'm delivering mail on my assigned route. This is unlawful detention. You're under arrest for mail tampering and obstruction. Mail tampering? I'm delivering the mail. Sullivan grabbed Jerome's wrist and forced his arm behind his back. Jerome didn't resist physically, but spoke clearly for the witness recording on her phone. I am not resisting. I am Jerome Hayes, USPS employee for 18 years. I am being unlawfully arrested for delivering mail. This is my job. I have federal employment protections. Should officers face termination for arresting federal employees doing their jobs? Let me know what you think. The witness with the phone called 911 herself, reporting that a police officer was arresting a postal worker for delivering mail. Other neighbors came outside, several recognizing Jerome from years of delivering their mail. Sullivan handcuffed Jerome and walked him to the patrol car while Jerome continued documenting everything. I deliver mail on the north side. I've worked for USPS for 18 years. I have a federal badge. My truck is right there with official USPS markings. Sullivan placed him in the back of the patrol car. Through the window, Jerome could see neighbors gathering, pointing at his USPS truck, recording on their phones. He could see the mail he'd been delivering scattered on the sidewalk where he'd dropped it. The drive to the station took 20 minutes. They arrived at Chicago PD's Lincoln Park District Station. Sullivan walked him inside, still handcuffed, past a desk sergeant who immediately looked concerned. Sullivan, what do you have? Mail tampering suspect from Lincoln Park. Caught him going through mailboxes in civilian clothes. The sergeant stood up. Mail tampering? Did you contact the postal inspector? He claims he's a postal worker, but he's not wearing a uniform. Jerome spoke up, his voice firm. Sergeant, I'm Jerome Hayes. I've been a USPS postal carrier for 18 years. Employee badge number on my belt. My ID is in my wallet. My uniform is in my truck, parked at the corner of Burling and Dickens, clearly marked with USPS logos. I was covering part of a colleague's route during my lunch break when Officer Sullivan arrested me for delivering mail. I have witnesses, video evidence, and federal employment protections. This arrest is unlawful. The sergeant's expression changed immediately. You're a postal carrier? 18 years, federal employee, union member. I know my rights and I know this arrest violates federal employment law. The sergeant turned to Sullivan. Did you verify any of this? Did you check his ID? Look at his truck? He wasn't wearing a uniform. He looked suspicious. Looking suspicious isn't a crime. Did you have any actual evidence of mail theft? The sergeant was already on the phone with the local post office. Within minutes, the postmaster confirmed Jerome Hayes was a veteran carrier with an 18-year perfect record assigned to the north side and had been asked to cover a colleague's route that afternoon. The postmaster also mentioned that Jerome was a union steward and that the National Association of Letter Carriers would be very interested in this arrest. The sergeant hung up and stared at Sullivan with barely controlled anger. You arrested an 18-year postal carrier for delivering mail, a federal employee with union protection. A captain arrived within minutes, Robert Martinez, a 28-year veteran who'd been trying to discipline Sullivan for years. He reviewed the situation, spoke with witnesses by phone, confirmed Jerome's employment. He approached Jerome, still handcuffed. Mr. Hayes, this arrest was completely unjustified. You're being released immediately. On behalf of Chicago PD, I apologize. He turned to Sullivan with finality. Badge and weapon. You're suspended pending termination. Sullivan protested. Captain, I responded to a call about mail theft. You arrested a postal worker for delivering mail. You didn't verify his employment. You ignored witnesses. You've generated 19 complaints in 14 years, 16 involving black workers. You're done. Badge, weapon, now. By that evening, the story had exploded. The National Association of Letter Carriers issued a statement condemning the arrest. The Postal Inspector's Office announced an investigation. Video from witnesses went viral, showing a uniformed police officer arresting a man next to a clearly marked USPS truck. Jerome filed a lawsuit 4 months later against Officer Derek Sullivan, his supervisors who'd ignored 19 complaints, and Chicago PD. The allegations were comprehensive: false arrest without probable cause, false imprisonment, violation of Fourth Amendment rights, racial profiling and discrimination, interference with federal employment, violation of federal labor laws, intentional infliction of emotional distress, deliberate indifference to Sullivan's documented pattern. The complaint included Sullivan's complete record: 19 complaints over 14 years, 16 involving black men working in affluent neighborhoods. Chicago's city attorneys found no viable defense. Post office records proved Jerome's employment and route assignment. Witnesses confirmed he was delivering mail. Video evidence existed. Sullivan had zero probable cause. The city settled 19 months later. $4.9 million paid to Jerome Hayes, one of the largest civil rights settlements in Chicago history. Officer Derek Sullivan was terminated 11 weeks after the incident. The termination letter was unambiguous. Officer Sullivan arrested a United States Postal Service employee with 18 years of service for performing his assigned duties. He had no probable cause. His pattern of similar conduct, documented through 19 complaints in 14 years, demonstrates an inability to serve without racial bias. Employment terminated immediately. Sullivan's name entered the National Decertification Index. His 14-year career was over. Jerome testified before the Chicago City Council. "I'm a postal carrier. I've delivered mail for 18 years through blizzards, heat waves, and a pandemic. I've walked thousands of miles serving this city. And Officer Sullivan arrested me for doing my job, for delivering mail while black in a wealthy neighborhood." He paused. 19 complaints in 14 years, 16 involving black workers in affluent areas. That's not policing. That's assuming black people don't belong in certain neighborhoods, even when we're clearly working. Your department ignored it for 14 years until Officer Sullivan arrested a federal employee with union representation and the resources to fight back. He continued, $4.9 million is what it costs when you ignore patterns for 14 years. But money doesn't undo being handcuffed in front of neighbors I've served for a decade. Chicago PD implemented comprehensive reforms: mandatory verification of employment before arresting workers, automatic investigation triggered by 3 similar complaints, body camera review for all worker-related encounters, partnership with trade unions and professional organizations, command-level accountability for supervisors who ignore patterns. Why do departments wait for 19 complaints instead of acting after 3? Comment your thoughts. This wasn't about one Tuesday afternoon. This was about tolerating Derek Sullivan for 14 years despite 19 complaints showing the exact same bias. Jerome Hayes paid the price, arrested for delivering mail in the neighborhood he'd served for years. Derek Sullivan's career is over. The city paid $4.9 million. But those consequences came after 19 complaints, 14 years, and countless black workers harassed with no recourse. Comment if this should be mandatory policy. 3 similar complaints within 3 years triggers automatic termination. Pattern recognition becomes a requirement, not afterthought. And if you believe these stories matter, if you think 19 complaints should have resulted in termination after 3, then hit that subscribe button. We're exposing departments that ignore documented patterns. We're demanding accountability. This isn't about one officer or one postal carrier. It's about systems that protect bad cops over protecting the public. Jerome Hayes delivered mail for 18 years. He deserved better than being arrested for doing his job.